Hi everyone, Anthony Holtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Vince Staples album, Ramona Park Broke My Heart. His fifth full-length LP, and comes a year after his 2021 self-titled, which was a surprising change of pace for Vince, because this project saw him at his most low-key, his most moody, sometimes his most introspective as well. The tone of this one was far from the animated flows and experimental beats of Big Fish Theory, but still I thought there was a fair exchange going on here, considering how melodic and emotionally potent some of the tracks on the self-titled were. It was truly a shame that some fans found the record boring, and I'm not exactly sure if Ramona Park is going to change the minds of anyone who was skeptical of that album. While this project instrumentally is not nearly as minimal as the self-titled record, it's still a very subtle experience. Narratively, this record in many ways serves as a tribute to the Ramona Park area of Long Beach, California, where Vince grew up, and essentially detailing how his experiences there impacted him, forever changing the way that he looked at things like money, friends, love, and enemies. Vocally and instrumentally, it very much feels like we're getting an enhanced second helping of what was on the self-titled record last year, but with the various themes across the record coming together into a clearer and more connected picture, the production occasionally bringing more color and groove as well. We have some bigger features on this thing too, including Ty Dolla $ign, Lil Baby, some key mustard beat placements as well, and just like with the self-titled, there are plenty of tracks on this thing that I vibe with merely for their subtle approach and their complex emotions. Like the track A Free the Homies, the laid-back grooves and glossy keys on this one sound like a throwback block party in the 90s, but set in a dream, where hearing the sounds of Snoop Dogg and Good Kid Mad City era Kendrick collide, as Vince raps about his personal growth, the things that he's seen. The narrative on the track isn't linear, but everything Vince is saying here culminates into a picture of the world that he grew up in. There's also the impeccably smooth and catchy magic. The mustard beat here has such a classic Bay Area vibe to it. The synthesizers are really charming, and even some of Vince's sung lines here are good too. And lyrically, this track is very much about contrast, putting the trouble and violence that marked his youth up against the fact that now, in his older age, he is sick of police, sick of sirens, and he's going to the neighborhood to get hugs and handshakes. Then, When Sparks Fly is an interesting moment on the LP, because on the surface, it's quite poetic and beautiful and even moving to a degree. The spacey beat laced with moody vocal samples certainly helps too. And lyrically, there's an element of almost romance to the track, as Vince is saying stuff like, everywhere you go, we go together, inseparable, I'm protective of you. But in actuality, he is just rapping about his relationship with his gun, with some clear lyrical references and nods to that, like never putting you in a jam, hide me from the police. It's actually kind of clever how sharp he is with it. The song PAPERCUTS, another highlight for me, is really all about love of money, what Vince's way of life was when he was broke, and how he doesn't need sympathy and he doesn't need his old ways anymore. He just needs enough money to not have to worry about anything, seemingly, and take care of the people around him. Vocally and instrumentally, like many other tracks here, this one is quite surreal and low-key too. There's just something about this current era of Vince's career where artistically he seems content to just try to do a lot with a little. There's also something pretty sad and almost tragic about the track player-ways, with Vince rapping about the emotional blocks and habits that basically make it hard for him to find romance in a traditional sense. He's fucking the pain away, and whoever he's spending time with, by the time the sun is up, it's over. There are also points where he and another person he's rapping about seem to be between relationships as well. I can see why on the song Rose Street, Vince goes as far as to say that he doesn't write love songs. But it's also interesting to see the emotional connections Vince makes with the parting words he leaves us with on the closer, The Blues, with him rapping about money contributing to his numbness, which I wouldn't say is entirely true, because if these past two records from Vince have proven anything, he seems like a guy who's very in touch with what he's feeling emotionally. I mean, bars like the one where he's saying that he's never lonely, even his daydreams are haunted, are not just sharp, but require an incredible amount of self-awareness. But sadly, listening to this record, it is still very apparent that emotionally Vince is still at a point in his life where his guard is up, and just plagued by fear and paranoia and a lack of trust. Very clearly, it's something he's still working through, and I hope artistically we can see him on the other side of that wall one day. But with that being said, there are just some performances performances vocally on this thing that are too mild and too underwhelming, making it difficult to connect with much of what Vince is saying, leaving some of these tracks feeling half-hearted, even if there are genuine emotions behind them. Like with East Point Prayer with Lil Baby, Slide, Bang That, Mama's Boy. There are elements of these tracks that I do appreciate, don't get me wrong, like the glistening production on East Point, or how he insinuates on Mama's Boy how a gangsta lifestyle, the things that come with that, he loves that as much as he loves his mom. Or at least that's how he may have felt at one point. I just wish these tracks were a bit bolder to give this project some more very much needed variety, especially since this thing is longer than Vince's past couple. Plus, on top of that, Vince is occasionally known to drop a pretty underwritten song that is a little one-dimensional too. A DJ Quick is certainly the case here with that. And I don't think Lemonade is one of his most flattering choruses either. But with that being said, I thought this record overall was okay. There are some duds, there are some supremely, again, underwhelming moments that I had a difficult time connecting with. But still, overall, this is a very emotional and personal record for Vince, and very much, in some respects, a more ambitious helping on many of the feelings and themes and sounds that he was exploring on his self-titled. And the experience this time around is certainly bigger, a bit more thorough too, but I have a hard time seeing it as better necessarily. I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Vince Staples, forever.